Good morning. I thought today, being that it's 11:11, I would do a like a universal guidance type reading for what the collective might need to know, might need some support in, might need a little bit of guidance in, a little bit of confidence building in. Let's see. All right. The deck I am using today for the Oracle is from Dreamy Moons. I think it's called Cosmic Guidance. Oh. And then the tarot deck I'm using is the Numinous Tarot. I'll use the book at times, especially with the Oracle deck, only because sometimes there's messages in there that I may not intuitively be picking up on that you might need to hear. So, all right. And as always, with tarot readings, only take on what resonates for you, leave the rest. That this is a collective read, so therefore, you know, not every message is going to be for you. But there might be something you can learn in every message. Just be open to it. Bottom of the deck energy is happy endings. The end of a chapter. So maybe some of you are moving into a new phase in your life. I know 11:11 is often linked to a change in cycles. It can be about ascending your spirituality to a higher level. It can be for a whole lot of things. Let's see what the book says about this bottom of the deck energy. I don't think it has a table of contents, so I'm just going to have to search the book. Happy endings. If you were brave enough to say goodbye, life will reward you with a brand new hello. This card is telling you that there's something that you need to say goodbye to in your life that is no longer serving you. Maybe that's something that you're already working through, and maybe you're coming to a point where you are actually able to let go. And sometimes that does take time. I think the important thing, again, to remember when it comes to letting things go is that it can take time, and there is no judgment in how long it takes. It'll take as long as it frickin' takes. And by letting go, I'm not saying letting go of the fact that things have happened to you, been done to you. It's letting go of the old ways in which you were conditioned to face those things, yeah? And that takes time. So this could be in regards to just your everyday life. It could be in regards to your work. It could be a relationship, a friendship, or any other personal endeavor coming to an end. Not to worry, this is a very happy ending, okay? So this card has very good, happy, ominous feelings about it. That this is something that you have been subconsciously working towards. or that you have consciously been working towards. But it's important to remember that this is for your best. This is about leaving behind those things that no longer serve you. And it's remembering that to make room in your life for the things that you want, that you dream of, you have to let go of those things that no longer serve you to make space for those things, yeah? Anyway, this card recommends that you write a letter to the chapter that's ending in your life and say goodbye to it. And the affirmation is, I'm saying goodbye to a chapter of my life with love and lightness in my heart. You know, and sometimes it's that we've already learnt all we can from a certain situation and that we end up just going around in circles, you know, which turns out not to be so healthy for you or anyone else involved. And ending chapters doesn't necessarily mean ending relationships either. You can be ending a particular cycle that you're in your relationships and moving into a new way of showing up in those relationships, yeah? So let's get some cards out for you. I have to say, this was the card and the split. And the first reading I did for myself with this deck, that card came out. And it's actually the first card in the deck. So, new beginning. Take action on that new beginning. Take action on what you need to do to create that new beginning, and to close out those old cycles. Then we've got rest, and that's important because sometimes we can be so focused on the healing, so focused on the closing out cycles to open new cycles, and then contending with the world as it is. And I think it's important to remember to rest when your body asks for rest. You know, start listening to your body when it speaks to you. If your body says no, listen. If your body says yes, listen. If your body's saying, I'm too fucking tired, just go fucking lay down, would you? Then go and do it, you know? Like, I know it's not always practical, but for some of us, being who we are, who we were born as, there's this conditioning that happens where you have to be better than the best in order to be acknowledged as okay, you know? And then that often pushes us to burnout. When we burn out, we're not our best selves. Our brain is tired. Our negative thoughts ramp up. Those feelings of failure and all of that colonial bullshit, you know, that generates shame. So rest when you can. Rest when you can. And then we've got mystery with a black cat. Maybe this new cycle, this new beginning, is a little bit of a mystery to you right now. Maybe you're not even aware what this new chapter is going to be. And that's about surrendering to the unknown. It's surrendering to saying, this is something I don't have full control over, and that's okay. Because do we need full control, or is that our trauma? And then I'd like to switch out the idea of control with collaboration, you know, that it's a working together thing rather than people needing to control the whole thing, you know. But that's just me. All right, let's see what cards come out, and then we'll pull some tarot to get a little bit more information. Action has come out again. So this is, I think I've only done one reading with this set of cards before now, and it was for me, and that was the first card that came out, and it was also middle of the deck energy on the first split. So I'm going to say that's an important one for today. To awaken the warrior within us. And what does being a warrior look like for you? Because it's going to look different for all of us. It's the imagery on here is taking me back to the invisible spear days of, you know, just how threatening us black fellas are when, you know, we're racially vilified and we imitate an invisible spear, you know, because those invisible spears, they're lethal, right? Anyway. All right. Rest has come out again, so that's obviously an important message that we need to hear. And let go. I'm pretty sure that was also no, it wasn't. We'll do one more shuffle and see if anything else wants to come out. And when I say one more shuffle, I have to do 5 shuffles, so. Now I've lost count. All right, nothing else. I'm going to let you know a little bit about what the book says about all these cards, but the wording on each, we've got action, awaken the warrior within. It does say warrior woman, but we don't do genders on this channel. The rest one says give yourself time to recuperate, and the let go is relax and release. As I said, we live in such a hustle culture that resting is so important. Having good rest and sleep is so important for mental health. It's something I learnt back in I want to say 2009, 2010, when I took my brother into the Brain and Mind Institute to be assessed, and they weren't even assessing me, but were like, oh, you have PTSD too. I was like, oh, hi. But while I was there, I took time to read some of their stuff on circadian rhythms. And so I kind of committed myself back then to trying to fix my sleep, because I was absolutely aware of how my sleep was affecting my daily mood, my daily motivation, my daily anything, really. But the long-term effects on my body as well, you know. So I'm a big promoter of making sure that you rest when you obviously when you can in this hustle culture. If you have the ability to rest when your body asks for it, even better. But I know not everybody has that capacity because of the hustle culture. So, and I also know that sleep is the enemy of people whose trauma is still incredibly active. Night terrors, flashbacks in your sleep, but not even that stuff that's happening in your sleep when you're unaware. But as a sexual assault survivor, one of the things I used to do while I was still in the midst of that violence was the layers of clothes I would wear to sleep. And still coming on 11 years since that was gone, that part of my life stopped, I still struggle to sleep with minimum clothing on. And how much overheating happens in those circumstances. Anyway, that's just my little ramble about rest. And I've already spoken about the whole letting go thing, that I know as well as anyone with complex trauma that letting go of the memories of what's happened and been done to you is not a possibility, right? Especially when some of those memories are trapped and locked and inaccessible even, and only come up during trigger moments. But how I talked about the letting go of the old coping mechanisms that saved you at the time, but that have become maladaptive as you heal more, and therefore they're things that you do need to let go of. And then that takes me back to the card that we started with on the bottom of the deck. Those endings and new beginnings type thing. I think they're the in our healing, they're the endings and the new beginnings we need to be trying to achieve, is ending those maladaptive, what some people would class as toxic coping mechanisms, being able to transform them into something healthy, that's productive, that's not just productive for you, but it's a way that you can transform that trauma into something beneficial for the collective consciousness, I guess. Because our consciousness is part of the collective, right? Everyone in the world is part of the collective consciousness, and that is a huge part that needs healing. Anyway, let's get some main points from these cards. I know action's right at the beginning. This card's saying there's no more dwelling, no more overthinking. Ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? What is holding me back out of fear? To remind yourself that our minds do create a million different scenarios based on that fear of everything that can go wrong. But how often are our brains generating the thoughts of what could go right? And how often are we not allowing ourselves to experience those thoughts of, well, what if things do go right? That is conditioning. That is the conditioning that we've grown up with, because our lack of control over things when we were small people, even as adults in certain circumstances, we are always waiting for the next shoe to drop, right? But what if that shoe's not going to drop? What if that shoe isn't going to drop? But what if those shoes are going to walk you right into a beautiful future? Is there still going to be colonial fuckery? Of course. I mean, especially while we have people on the left that are still not caring about Indigenous knowledge and reducing it to spirits and ghosts, you know? This card is reminding you that, yes, there are times where you need to stop, think, form a plan before taking action. But this card is saying this isn't one of those times. This is one of those times you just need to go for it. It asks you to create an action plan. What action steps can you take towards your goals? What is the worst that can happen? Then create an action plan, and most importantly, follow through with it, because it is what this message is all about. And remind yourself, I am powerful and fearless. I act upon my desires with grace and determination. And then rest. I'm pretty sure rest is going to be in this section. And just let go. I'll just hold that page for now. Here we go, rest. So this card really wants you to rest without guilt. Rest without shaming yourself for, crap, I need to go lay down again. If you need to go lay down again, you need to go lay down again. You know, trying to sleep more. Make sure that you're eating foods that nourish your body, which is hard in a cost of living crisis. I mean, I'm able to eat fruit and vegetables because I don't consume meat or cheese or eggs or anything like that. So I can buy fruit and vegetable for myself. But for people that do consume meat, like, meat is so expensive. And people see protein as the most important thing. I can tell you it's not. I've been vegan for 13 years and I've never been protein deficient. And I never count how much protein I consume. Sometimes I think we aim for too much protein in our diets and not enough fiber. But that's just me. Anyway, but some suggestions for rest, right? It doesn't have to be about going to bed, but it can be about, making sure you're nourishing your body, take baths, go for relaxing outings, listen to meditation music, do meditation, switch off social media, decide that today I'm not going to argue with racists, and put that energy into something that feeds your soul, whether it's journaling or doing art or tarot readings or gardening or bushwalking or catching up with friends, not to do anything that expends a lot of energy, but stuff that fills your cup, Resting is just as productive for our body as our waking time, as our active time, yeah? Basically what this book is saying, if you can't find 20 minutes to rest, you need to find 2 hours to rest. The less you allow yourself to rest actually points to the more you actually need it. So, I treat myself like what I treated my newborn babies like, right? The moment I saw signs that they were tired, we began the sleep routine. The moment I show signs of being tired, I begin my sleep routine. I'm a person that has AuDHD, therefore I can go into overtired mode very quickly if I stay up late and then can't sleep. My brain gets too active. So I might go to bed at 7:30, but that's me listening to my body saying it's time for sleep. And you do like to wake up early, Sin. The mornings are your favorite time. So by giving myself permission to go to bed an hour earlier than I did when I was in primary school, I happily wake up at 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. and I get to enjoy the last of the night sky with the stars as it moves into sunrise and the morning bird song. And it's my absolute favorite time of day. And while I might be up, I'm still resting, Anyway, let's go to Let It Go. This is talking about that there's something in the past that is still kind of bothering people in the collective a little bit. Which is no surprise, really. But that it is tapping in and using up your precious energy that you could be using for other things. It's asking you to bring yourself back to the present moment. Now, for anyone that is currently living in a war zone, anyone that is currently living in domestic violence circumstances or the like, the current moment is not safe. And I want to acknowledge that right now. So moving into the current moment and being in the now is as terrifying as dwelling in the past and projecting the future, right? Because in that moment, you don't even know if you're going to make it to a future. And I say that as someone who has lived that. But really, it's about not dwelling on the past. You can't go back and change it. You can't go back and do things differently. All you can do is how you show up now, right? The future is yet to happen. And the future can actually look a million different ways depending on choices that we make in the now, right? And that the reality is the present right now, what's happening is the only thing we are experiencing and have a level of control and navigation over. Because there's too many variables to be able to predict how the future is going to go. And like I said, you can't go back and adjust the past. You can't go back and change anything in the past. All you have control over now is knowing better, doing better, being better. And holding a space of compassion and self-forgiveness within you. Building up that self-love, self-worth. Really believing that you are worth being loved and that you are lovable. Some of the ways that we can help us to psychologically let go of things is clearing our physical spaces. So clearing the clutter from your room, because clutter is a big thing with people with complex trauma. Really practice meditation. And I've mentioned this in previous videos, if you're someone that gets intrusive thoughts and dysregulated brain patterns and whatnot, try journaling before you sit down to meditate to release all of that chatter from your brain. Don't care what it looks like in the journal, how much sense it's making. Don't even worry about that. Just get it out of your head and then try and meditate to release that energy. The affirmation that this card is asking us to focus on is, I release all negative thoughts about the past and all worries about the future. I am fully present in this moment. Okay, now let us get some tarot to get a little bit more information. See what bottom of the deck energy is for this collective read. The Wheel of Fortune, which is about generally it's a card that shows destiny and fate, but that wheel keeps turning. And as much as you might want it to stop, you want the world to stop spinning, you just don't want that wheel to turn. You just need a moment for everything to stop. But I'm getting called to just read a little bit from the book. I really like the Numinous Tarot deck. Okay, so this card in tarot follows the Hermit. It is a major arcana, which major arcanas use, what they represent in a tarot read is a big destined shift type of thing. And this card reminds us that the only constant in life is change. And change is fucking terrifying for a lot of us. But that's the only constant in life. And the more that we resist it, the harder it is to deal with. And the Wheel of Fortune talks about the cycles that we go through, which ties in nicely to that endings and new beginnings card, is that we are constantly moving through cycles in our lives, and there are beginnings and endings all the time. We just may not even realize them until we look back and see, oh, and it's a reminder that this wheel spins, whether it's good times or bad, you know. And it often results in, you know, things happening in our lives that we don't have a lot of control over, but we need to learn to flow with. This card asks us to think about, what are the seasons like in your life? Do they follow a particular pattern? Like when we know that the colder months are coming, we can prepare for those colder months. When we know the warmer months are coming, we know we can prepare for those warmer months. And that the seasons change whether we want them to or not. And trust me, I never want it to get cold. It's about radical acceptance, really. The wheel is radical acceptance that we don't have control over everything that happens in our lives. And that's part of the letting go and letting the universe, you know, trusting the universe, trusting our ancestors, trusting that our higher self and the higher powers have a plan for us, you know. And the impermanence of everything, really. The impermanence of these empires, the impermanence of relationships, and gosh, even our animal companions, the impermanence of them in our lives. And remember that as frightening as change is, change can bring us out of situations that are detrimental to us. It may not feel like it right away, but I also am learning that working with the energy helps those changes to go more smoothly. All right, let's get some cards. Okay, what advice do we have for the collective when it comes to awakening the warrior within them? What initial steps do the collective need to take in waking the warrior within? Wow, that's too many cards. Ooh, Numinous, which is one of the special major arcana. Which comes after the World. Okay, so you need to embrace the mysterious forces that are at play in what you need to step into this warrior within, you know? It's the feeling that you get when you stare up at the night sky, realizing in that moment just how vast and beautiful it is. You feel like you might just fall into the gorgeous starry void at any moment, which is exhilarating and a bit frightening. The numinous is what you feel when you find a special moonlit grove or an alleyway filled with colourful graffiti, when you gaze out from a high place, when a sunbeam cuts through the fog in the early morning. It is the magic and mystery of the world that we connect to in brief but powerful moments throughout our lives. This card is encouraging you to go adventuring, to find yourself in one of these moments. It may suggest a need to sit with yourself and find your connection to the world at large. It can mean that some things are much bigger than you, and it can feel wonderful to accept that when life gets strange, it may indicate that something you're currently experiencing or asking about has origins in the mysterious and the magical. Look out for the small and beautiful when the numinous appears. Catch yourself in the between moments and the between places, otherwise known as the liminal. Take a trip to the astral realm if you can. There is special energy there you will find nowhere else. So, in order to awaken that warrior within, it's so important to believe in the mystery and the magic and the beauty that still exists in this world, which can be really hard when our social media feeds are full of death and dying, destruction, and absolute psychopathy, really. But to find, yes, that space in between where you can just sit and exist in the magic of the universe. Any other information about what action the collective need to take? We've got the Two of Vials. So the Two of Vials is the Two of Cups. Bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Bells, which is the Ace of Swords, which usually represents clarity. Cutting through the bullshit, as I like to say when the Ace of Swords comes out. The Two of Vials is about creating partnerships with other people, which tells me the way to awaken the warrior within is to discover how the warrior in you shows up in your connections, in how you show up, in how you protect, in how you nurture. I don't think being a warrior always means having to throw a spear. I think we can be warriors in so many different ways. And, you know, there's this colonial idea of warriors like, don't get me wrong, I believe that those of my peoples that were fighting in the frontier wars were warriors. But I also believe those that stayed and looked after the more vulnerable parts of our communities were also warriors. And finding that space where your warrior self belongs, you know? And how when we show up in our connections with other people, it helps us to grow. When we have these reciprocal relationships with other people, we are teacher and student, as are they, you know, and we can really benefit a lot from undoing the idea that all teaching happens in classrooms, and open ourselves to that teaching and learning happens in all our connections, right? And then look at the imagery on this. You have a mermaid and you have a human, and they both have like little potion jars. One's holding a potion jar that says fins, and one has a potion jar that says legs. And it's about finding the strengths in each of us, in all of our connections, the people that we connect with. Finding our strengths, finding their strengths, finding where we aren't so strong, where they aren't so strong, and where we all start filling those gaps in, you know? Now, what about some extra information on rest? What can the collective do to ensure rest? There we go. There we go. Cut through the bullshit, guys. Cut through the fucking bullshit. This colonial bullshit that has us in hustle culture. Cut through it. Okay, so cut through the bullshit. Get that rest to allow that creative drive to be reborn. For those, that candle within, to make sure that flame is still burning brightly, yeah? So it's about getting clarity and cutting through the bullshit that demonizes rest, that jokes about an afternoon siesta in certain cultures and whatnot. Like, no, those cultures that do an afternoon siesta, they're on the right path, you know? It's the Western hustle culture that's not. It's not beneficial for us as humans. It's not beneficial for the earth. It's not beneficial for the animals we share the earth with. It's just, it's killing us all. And if it's not killing us, it's making us into horrible, horrible people, you know? But allow that rest so that you can get those fires within burning again. Helping us to transmute. First, integrate the traumatic experiences, then transmute those traumatic experiences into something that's beneficial for the collective consciousness, right? And rest is important for the collective consciousness. Okay, Now, what about some advice on how the collective can get started on letting go? Any tips that they might need to hear? There we go. The Explorer of Vials. We'll see if we can get one more card out. Oops, there we go. And the Diviner. So the Diviner in this deck is the High Priestess. In other decks, bottom of the deck energy is the Creator of Vials. So the Explorer of Vials is, I'm pretty sure, the Queen. Okay, so when we are letting go, we are having to learn new information about our experiences, our emotions, all of those kinds of things. And really about learning about how to deal with our emotions in the healthiest way possible, especially in the way we communicate with others, which is a big lesson I've been learning this year. I think if you're a person that does have strong empathy, it's time that you turned that empathy in towards yourself. And I'm not saying turn it off to everyone else, but you are as deserving of your empathy as anyone else is, okay? If not more so. And it always comes back to being able to fill your own cup. And by filling your own cup, that means showing yourself empathy. It means showing yourself forgiveness. It means showing yourself love. It means showing that you are worthy with all the decisions you make regarding you. And then the Diviner, which I said is the High Priestess in a normal tarot deck. But this deck doesn't gender cards. So it's about joining up the power of giving with the power of receiving. So that also ties in with letting go in order to receive new, letting go to make space for new. And opening ourselves up to messages from our higher self, from our ancestors, our spirit guides, whatever you want to call the energy that you call in for advice. Listening to the messages that they bring to you. Being able to differentiate between the messages from your higher self and your unhealthy ego parts, your subconscious, where a lot of the conditioning from childhood lives. But this card really signifies it's a time, letting go is a time to sit back and really listen to yourself, listen to your emotions, the energy that's moving through your body, listen to your intuition. Allow those feelings to come up, allow them to come up and move through you and out of you. Coming in unison with yourself is about integrating the shadow and the divine together, right? It's about integrating them and transforming them into something bigger, better, healthier. And yeah, so this card's really asking you to really sit and connect with yourself, listen to your intuition, and learn how to process and communicate your feelings in a healthy way. All right? And the bottom of the deck energy is calling out to me, so okay, so I am going to talk about this because as far as the letting go goes, with this as a kind of energy that's attached to it, this card is really saying to you that you're at the stage with your passion in your healing where maybe it's time to take that out and share that with people. Share yourself and your work that you've done on yourself or your creative ventures with the world, you know? About connecting with community, connecting with others, appreciating the gifts and creativity that others bring that complement what you bring. Anyway, I do hope this reading has been helpful for you today. I guess I will see you next time. And don't forget, like, subscribe, whatever, do your thing.